Do you want a business that's always creating headaches, or do you want something that feels like you enjoy getting in there and getting the job done, and who you're working with? And I think that goes a long way. From record high temperatures in the state of Michigan and across the West into always high temperature Phoenix, we are the Tactical Agents. Here with another episode 43 to be exact. So we took a break, but we are back. So maybe this is the first time that little notification went off, or maybe your notifications have been piling up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to your subscriptions, and you're like, I forgot about these guys. Well, good news. We're back. We're back. Making more episodes, giving stuff away. What are we giving away, Chris?
Joy has returned to your life again.
Yes.
We are giving away everything.
Everything. This podcast brought to you by us, who is charging you nothing. And so, yeah, we're broke as far as the podcast goes. Like, in real estate, we're fine. But in the podcast world, we make nothing. We're struggling. We have nothing.
I'm glad you clarified, because I think it would be detrimental to our entire system if everybody thought we were broke.
if we couldn't buy or sell a home or get a client, yeah. So we're the Tactical Agents, guys, Mike and Chris, and you can join our group. It's free. Go to tacticalagents.com. That'll get you access into the Facebook group. We have the Tactical Agent Academy. Once you get into the group, you can also download our book for free. And why would we give this stuff away for free? Because we believe that if we help enough other people get what they want, we'll get what we want, which is ultimately a growing network of business. So yeah, maybe one day, if we add enough value to your life and business, yeah, maybe you'll want to give us a referral. Maybe you'll want to send some people our way for lending, because we do both real estate and mortgages. We run a large team, so maybe you want to work with us, whatever. But it's not required. There's no pressure. It's just who we are. So here we are. Now this is like, now we say all that, and it's gonna seem like we're trying to convince people to come to the brokerage we're with. Maybe how we do that is we don't even talk about what brokerage we're with. Maybe we solve that by saying, like, we're not trying to get you to come to our brokerage. We're not even going to tell you who it is. Maybe you already know, but we'll leave that off, because we understand that everyone has their own unique situation, their own goals, their strengths, their desires, their whatever, and they got to find a place that's a fit for them. Get it. So we just want to talk, though, about, because we've been through, I've been with 1, 2, 3, 4 brokers now. How many have you been with?
Technically 4. Yeah.
Okay. So both of us have had experience switching with brokers. And so we just want to hit the topic of when do you know it's the right time to switch brokerages, and like, how do you go about it? How do you go about switching brokers in the right way? So to kick it off, I had a conversation yesterday with a guy, and he wants to change brokers. And this happens a lot. People want to change brokers for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what it is, but you decide, you know what, I'm ready for a change. I need a change. And they're nervous about telling their current broker that they're going to make the change. And what I told this guy was, like, sometimes when we make a decision about what's best for our business, because it's, in my case, it's me that needs to bring revenue in. Like, I support a wife. I support, at the time when I started real estate, some kids. Now I support, in some sense, my grandkids, right? Like, it's up to me. My broker, whoever they are, is not responsible to feed my family. They're not responsible for my goals, what I want to accomplish in business and life. They're not. And if I'm making a move that I feel is best for myself, for my family, and my business, and the broker kind of craps all over you for that or tries to stop you from that, the broker, if you're nervous, instead of thinking, man, when I tell my broker about this, they're going to cheer me on, then maybe that's already an indicator that you're probably not in the right place. Because why would you be nervous about telling someone good news? That you're making a move to improve your business, to improve the quality of life, or if you're for yourself or your family and stuff. And kind of like a light bulb went off during that conversation with this agent. He's like, yeah, you know what? That's a really good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, it's like, why should you be nervous to share good news? You know. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there to kind of kick off the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's too, so many people get caught up in the personal side of this, which is understandable because we're all in a relationship business, right? But your brokerage and the place you hang your license is a business decision, and you need to approach it like a business. And that, it's not all about money. It's not all about splits. It's not all about, what you get, but those things have to play a role. They have to be a part of the conversation. And what doesn't belong in the conversation is feelings, right? Like so my brokerage changes. I loved my first broker. Loved him. Loved everybody that worked there. Have nothing bad to say about Keller Williams at all. Not one bad thing to say about him. But a new opportunity came up that just, it fit me better. It fit the way I wanted to do business better. It was financially better. And I took that opportunity, and to their credit, Keller Williams was great about it. They were like, oh yeah, that's awesome, man. Go do it. Wish you the best. They called and tried to, convince me to stay, but it wasn't like, you're an idiot for doing this. It's like, we really want you to stay. And that's not the same thing as what you were talking about, right? Like it's
right.
It's when somebody just wants you to be around, that's a totally different conversation. But ultimately, when I said, hey, look, I've made my decision, they were like, okay, great. We wish you the best of luck. And if, anything ever changes and you want to come back, give us a call. And I think they handled it super well. I've also been in a situation where I changed brokerage and it didn't go well. They took it extremely personally. And that was very eye-opening as to, more where that relationship stood. Than it was a different place than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's kind of a shocker, and it's I think that sometimes that's just a human experience where you place a certain value on a connection, a relationship, and you're placing a higher value on it than the other party, and you don't even realize it. You think it's one thing, and then usually it's only when a relationship is tested that you see where it really stands, right? Like when you face a challenge, that's where you really, people's true nature and character kind of comes out. When things are going smooth and it's great and everybody's making money, well, everybody's happy, right?
Right.
But when you face a challenge, then those things can rear their heads. But that can be viewed as a win, right? Like, oh wow, this is actually definitely a good thing. Let it be a confirmation that's like, oh, I'm definitely making the right decision, because I didn't even realize kind of like what kind of quicksand I was in, because they weren't going to reach a hand out to me when I'm sinking if they won't help, if they won't support me when I'm up,
Right.
So I think that's important to realize. So I would say, like, if you're thinking about changing brokerages, and there is that sort of like oddness to like, man, I'm afraid or nervous to tell my broker. It could just be natural, right? Like people might not like confrontation, and they feel like that's a confrontation. And so there's a natural little bit of that, but there might be something in your gut going, yeah, I'm not looking forward to this, because I really think that they're looking out for them and not for me. That's a possibility. What else?
Yeah.
What else do you think about when you think about this stuff? Changing brokerages.
Back to the point you just said, I had a conversation with a lady not too long ago, and her broker had been in the business for a really long time. He was, you know, in his 80s, been doing it forever. And he basically told her she couldn't leave because she was his source of income now. Now he had a good business and makes plenty of money, but she had turned into his cash cow, and she was really upset about it. She was like, he's been good to me. And I was like, well, has he though? It's, if his biggest concern is how it affects him and not how it affects you when you leave, he's looking out for himself.
Yeah.
He's using you. And that is definitely something that you need to take into consideration.
Yeah. Your broker may really care about you and try to get you to stay, sort of, for the right reasons. We've had people leave, like our team, our group, and to my knowledge, like we've never said, do you know how that's going to impact us, or do you understand what, how much we've poured into you, and what, I don't think we've ever gone that route. I have told people, because sometimes they'll give a reason for why they're leaving, like, and I know objectively that the reason isn't that great, and that I know what they're in for when they go to the next broker or the next team, because I've been there.
Right.
And so for me to say, hey man, and I think this is like our party line, is like, we support you, like whatever you need to do to grow and succeed in your business and reach your goals, like we're all about it. Like if there's anything we can do to help you, you just let us know. But I will say that if it's because, you think you're going to get leads here, or you think that you're going to get better training here, here's some things to look out for, here's some things to consider. And we've had some people leave and are glad that they left. And we've had other people leave and come back because they're like, yeah, you were right about that, and it was never a personal thing ever. I've given referrals out to people that have left our team. Like they're still good agents.
Right.
Yeah, I'll send you a referral. I'll know you take care of the client. So, I think too, when it comes to changing brokerages, the reason that you need to be doing it could be personal, or it could be business, because there's something real about chemistry, right? So there's character and competence, right? Oh, my broker is not a bad person, right? They're not shady. They're competent people. They're good at what they do, but maybe it's chemistry. It could really just be that, like, I just don't feel like I fit. I would say that was my first broker experience. Like, the guy he was completely honest. He was a very nice guy, like, no problem, but I just didn't fit. And so the chemistry was off. And I think that that's important, because if you're in the right environment, if you feel more yourself in a different environment, you'll tend to thrive better, and be able to focus on the things that matter most in your business without having to worry about oddness or feeling weird about not fitting in. And so if you have a good chemistry on the personal side, that can be a valid reason. It may be, even if you're going from a situation where, let's say that you've got an 85-15 split and you're going to an 80-20, you're going to take a worse split. But if the chemistry is better, you may well outpace that if you feel so stuck and like drudge having to deal with the people that you have to deal with at your brokerage.
Right. And it's interesting you say that too, because there's an element to, before our current brokerage was in Alabama, I had to do a quick deal for family. I'm licensed in Alabama too. I don't do a lot there, just help family out when I can. But I had to do a quick deal in Alabama, and I hung my license with this shop that was, you pay us $97 a transaction and that's it. And, you just kind of get your stuff done. It was the worst experience of my life. I swear to God, I'd have paid 30% to have a better experience. I couldn't ever get in touch with anybody. They didn't know anything. Like, I would ask them questions about different things, and they would have no answers for me. And it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I get that it was cheap, but it ended up being a pain, and I couldn't imagine it being my primary brokerage. But now I was able to switch over to our current place because it's in all 50 states now. But
Yeah.
that was an experience in and of itself.
I don't I don't envy you. And sometimes like the you get what you pay for is true, like well, I only have to pay $97 a transaction. So you think like you're going to keep all this extra money in your pocket. Yeah, but if the chemistry's off, if the environment's terrible, then are you really?
Yeah.
Are you going to enjoy that? Do you want a business that's always creating headaches, or do you want something that feels like you enjoy getting in there and getting the job done, and who you're working with? And I think that goes a long way. But then you do need to also consider the business side of it. You can't let the personal side hold you back either. You may be like, man, I really, especially, when you're brand new and you don't know what you don't know, chemistry is really important. It'll be more important at that point in your career than probably any other, because you just want to be able to enjoy the learning process. And if you can, that's great. But eventually, and this is what happens in the industry, somebody gets some transactions under their belt. They start to feel confident. They start to feel comfortable. They don't feel like they're lost anymore. And they can help a client start to finish. And then they start to look at the books. Then they start to look at what's coming in, what's going out. And they realize, man, I'm doing this 50-50 with my broker. I'm getting some leads, yes, that I have to, the cold call thing. I'm reacting to this stuff. I'm engaging here. I'm doing all the things, but it's 50% of my commission. And the gears start turning. You're like, man, could I do this on my own? Right? Like, could I get a better situation? And there's nothing personal about it. You're like, I need to take this in a new direction for my business. And usually that means you're not looking for another team per se. You're looking to be a solo agent and handle things yourself. Now you just need a broker that kind of is there, but isn't in your way.
Right.
And creating systems for you that now you sort of like, you're cutting the cord, you're taking the ankle weights off, and now you want to kind of get sprinting here on your own. And if you're feeling that, then now you've got to start looking at more of like the details of, okay, what are the splits? What are the fees? What systems are offered in place? Will these things work for my goals, right? My personality, my next steps. And then you start thinking about the business. And in that case, chemistry, especially if you're going to be a solo agent, is really just about, your own self-discipline now. It's a lot more about just having a good network of relationships that you get to pick versus being forced into proximity or relationship with people on a particular team at a particular like boutique brokerage. You start looking at who you want to be connected to more than who you have to be connected to.
Right. I think if I had to boil it down to the things you need to look at that are most important when you're deciding whether or not you want to leave a brokerage, one is the business side of things. How much am I paying? Obviously, you need to know how much you're paying them. Then you need to know, what am I getting for that money? So what kind of tools and systems are in place? Is the technology a help or a hindrance to my business? Things like that. How am I able to connect with my broker, and what is the support like on the admin side of the transactions? That's something you need to consider. And then you do need to consider the relationships too. Do I like these people? Are they people that I enjoy conversing with? Because if not, if you don't like them, if they're not the best financially, they don't have good technology, and you're there out of some sense of loyalty. And don't get me wrong, loyalty is a very strong quality to have, but when you are loyal to the point that it is a detriment to you and your family, you are being disloyal to your family by being loyal to some strange person who has no benefit
Yep.
or no impact on your life, right? And ultimately, your loyalty has to be to your family.
Yep.
So I think those are the main considerations from my perspective. What about you?
I think, like, if I could just boil it down to one thing, if I was having a conversation with somebody about this, I would say, like, are you clear on your mission? Like, are you clear on your why? And we go back to the beginning of this podcast where it's the foundation. Like, you got to find your why. You got to know why you're doing this. And the question then is always like, does this decision serve my mission or hinder it? Like,
Right.
what ultimately is going to further the mission that I'm, like, convicted of, that I hold at a deep level? This moves me, this inspires me, this is the direction I'm headed. Will this change help me or hinder me to do that? And when it comes down to that, and then you gotta make the decisions in the help direction. What will serve the mission? No matter how difficult it may be, no matter how emotional it may be, you have to be able to make that decision and cut out what you got to cut out and add in what you got to add in. And if someone doesn't support that, if someone doesn't support another person pursuing the mission that they feel convicted and called into, then you're probably making the right decision anyway. if your
Right.
broker or your fellow agents don't support that. So that's, when people have come to the point to where they're asking me, well, what do you think? I always just push people, go, you already know the answer. Like, it's already sitting there. You just gotta, you gotta go with your gut. Is it serving the mission or not? Like, and then make the decision and go.
And
Or
then,
stay.
yeah,
Maybe
or stay,
it's
yeah.
stay.
Yeah, and not every opportunity is a good one. You know what I mean? So you gotta be smart about it. But one of the biggest sources of contention when somebody does make the decision to leave a brokerage is giving that notification, and they feel like they're quitting a job. Let's be 100% clear here. You are not an employee. You may have been an employee for your entire life up until that point.
Yep.
You are not. You are a business owner, and you're making a business decision as to where you go. So you aren't quitting a job. You are aligning yourself with somebody differently, and there's no need to feel remorse or the business is going to rock on just fine without you, no matter what anybody says. Like, you're not that key spoke in the wheel. You're not nearly as important to their business as you think you are.
Yeah.
And you just tell them, just be honest. Hey, look, I've got another opportunity. This is what I'm doing. Thank you so much for the time that I've had here. Best of luck to you going forward. I'm going to go do this for my family.
Yep.
And just tell the truth, and be straight up about it.
Exactly. Well, guys, hopefully this conversation that you've been a fly on the wall for has been helpful. If you're encountering that decision, or if eventually when you do, you can always reference this episode and come back to it and get refreshed. If you've appreciated this episode, this content, or any of the others, and you haven't left a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do that. That's the best way to thank us for what we're doing here and putting the podcast out. And if you want to jump in, the Tactical Agents Facebook group is going to be the biggest and best Facebook group for real estate agents in the world, and no strings attached. And we're sharing our tactical approach to the business, so that you can win. So tacticalagents.com, get registered there, and we won't spam you, and we have nothing to sell you, period. So just good trainings, good opportunities to connect with other agents and network. It's going to be good. And with that, we'll see you in episode 44 next week.